Here's the entire Politico headline. Ben Carson admits fabricating West Point scholarship. That headline is based on this quote from Carson's spokesman, which admits no such thing. Here's the quote. He was introduced to some folks from West Point by his ROTC supervisors, said Bennett, the campaign manager. They told him they could help him get an appointment based on his grades and performance in ROTC. He considered it, but in the end, he did not seek admission. And from that, a story has been built that Ben Carson fabricated and exaggerated what? A conversation with General Westmoreland about attending West Point? And as I said at the beginning, this story is written in such a way that if you haven't read Carson's book, and can I see a show of hands how many of you have? That's what I thought. Nobody. So if you haven't read Carson's, well, I mean, the odds are, well, what's the percentage? Even if it's a #1 bestseller, how many people have read it? Versus how many people read Drudge and see this link and read and click on this story? Okay, so you read the link, you read the political story, and the way this is written, you're going to think that Ben Carson has said he attended West Point, and he attended on a scholarship, and that Politico has found out that he didn't attend. That's what they want you to conclude, that he lied about going to West Point. They've got the proof here that, I talked to somebody at West Point. Carson never showed up here. I mean, we didn't even extend an invitation. Why, he didn't even apply. Well, of course he didn't. He admitted he didn't apply. And if he didn't apply, he couldn't have attended, so he couldn't have lied and said that he did. He's admitted that he didn't apply. The Politico story wants readers to believe that Carson's telling everybody he went to West Point for 4 years. But they at the Politico have uncovered the lie. This is right up there with NBC's editing of the 911 call. This is worse than that, but it's right up there with NBC editing the 911 call in the Zimmerman case to make it look like Zimmerman was a flat-out racist when the race of Trayvon Martin was the last. He had to be asked about it. He did not volunteer it, contrary to the editing of the NBC did of the 9/11 tape. Here's what Politico wrote in its lead. Ben Carson's campaign on Friday admitted in a response to an inquiry from Politico that a central point in his inspirational personal story was fabricated. His application and acceptance to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. He didn't fabricate it. See this? They want you to believe that he applied and attended. His books and the campaign manager quoted in the story admit that he didn't apply. Therefore, he couldn't have attended. This is base journalistic malpractice. Here's what Carson wrote in his book, Gifted Hands. Afterward, Sergeant Hunt, his high school ROTC director, introduced me to General Westmoreland, and I had dinner with him and the Congressional Medal winners. Later, I was offered a full scholarship to West Point. And so the Politico, he never offered it. You weren't offered anything. We talked to West Point. You never applied. Well, the campaign said today that they never did apply. The whole thing centers around, we've had some callers from the military academy, graduates today, call and say that this is entirely understandable if you're an inner city kid, even though you're doing well in ROTC, and here comes the future Chief of Staff of the Army, General William Westmoreland, and he's extolling the virtues of West Point and telling you how it works. And part of how it works is that you don't pay anything to go there. It's entirely understandable that a young kid might think he's being offered a free ride, which in his vernacular is a scholarship, which, by the way, happens to be a big objective in many families across this country, be African-American or otherwise. Getting a scholarship to college, either academic or athletic, is a huge deal because it costs a damn much. And so getting a scholarship has become synonymous with a free ride. And the way Westmoreland's describing the experience at West Point could have easily sounded to somebody like a young Ben Carson as a free ride, which in his world equals scholarship. He didn't lie about anything. He didn't lie about attending West Point. He didn't write that he went. He didn't write that Westmoreland got him in. So what is it that he lied about? What is it the campaign admitted they fabricated or exaggerated? From the Daily Caller News Foundation today, the campaign never admitted to anything, a spokesman for Ben Carson told the Daily Caller today in response to the hit by Politico. The Politico story, this is Doug Watts from the Carson campaign, the Politico story is an outright lie. Politico published a piece Friday claiming Carson's campaign admits fabricating the fact that he applied and was admitted to West Point. See, that from the moment I told you about this is exactly what I told you the Politico's purpose was. They want you to think that Carson never went to West Point, but that he says he did. Politico published a piece Friday claiming Carson's campaign admits fabricating the fact that he applied and was admitted to West Point. So they go to the West Point spokesbabe today. No, we have no application. He didn't apply. And he certainly didn't attend here. So they clearly want ignorant, impressionable, uninformed readers to think that Ben Carson's out there writing in his book that he went to West Point. And that the Politico today has uncovered the fact that he didn't. And do you want to know how successful this is? I'm not going to mention any names here. In the opening segment of this program, I'm going through exactly what I just told you here. And somebody on the other side of the glass shouted to me, doesn't matter, he's toast. The truth doesn't matter, he's toast. Just based on the first exposure one has to the story. Doesn't matter. It's over. He's toast. Which is exactly what the Politico wants everybody that reads this story to believe. Ben Carson's campaign on Friday admitted in a response to an inquiry from Politico that a central point in his personal story was fabricated. His application and acceptance to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, writes Kyle Cheney in the Politico lead. Excuse me while I separate paper. The Carson campaign disputes Politico's claim, unsubstantiated, that he ever claimed to have applied to West Point or even had been admitted. He never said he was admitted. He never said that he applied. He never said he attended. This is the full statement from campaign aide Watts to the Daily Caller. Dr. Carson was the top ROTC student in the city of Detroit. In that role, he was invited to meet General Westmoreland. He believes it was at a banquet. He can't remember with specificity their brief conversation, but it centered around Dr. Carson's performance as ROTC's city executive officer. He was introduced to people from West Point by his ROTC supervisors. They told him they could help him get an appointment based on his grades and performance in ROTC. He considered it. But in the end, he did not seek admission. He's never maintained that he sought admission and never maintained that he attended. And the Politico story today is designed to make you think that he did both of those things and lied about it. The Politico story, it says here, is an outright lie. Dr. Carson, as the leading ROTC student in Detroit, was told by his commanders he could get an appointment to the academy. He never said he was admitted or even applied. The campaign never admitted to anything. This is what we have come to expect from Politico. Politico reporter Kyle Cheney, who has the byline on the Carson story, did not immediately respond to multiple requests for comment from the Daily Caller. So the Carson campaigns acted fast to turn this back onto the Politico using the Daily Caller and a number of other sources, and now the Politico will not respond. And I tell you what's going to, the truth of this is going to be ignored. I guarantee you that CNN, the rest of these people, are going to run with the original premise. And all they have to do is say, Politico today alleged. That's all they've got to do. They don't have to report it as factual themselves. And it's going to be one of these seriousness of the charge deals. Oh, this is a serious charge. Dr. Carson lied about going to West Point. This is a serious